What's up, legends? Welcome back to the Democast. My name's Jack. I'm here with my co-host Alex. What's going on, man?
Mate, just keeping it alive. I always forget that I have to say something at the start of this, and that throws me off every time.
Nice.
Oh,
Funny that we're doing a podcast and we're here to say things.
Yeah, that is a weird process. It's an early one for us too. It is currently 7:12 a.m., which is disgusting. But we're not at work, so cool. I
thought you were going to continue. Sorry. Yeah, we've had a couple of weeks off. I feel like life has just gotten pretty busy for both of us. I'm kind of in the middle of moving houses. I just shot BMX Nationals, which was pretty cool. I feel like it's been such a blur the last couple of weeks. I can't even really remember what has happened, but we've both been so busy. We haven't ridden bikes in a few weeks, and we haven't done this in a few weeks, just purely because neither of us could make it happen.
Yeah. I actually can't tell you what I've been doing, but I know I've been doing it a lot. Work was pretty flat out. I got nothing. But you're right. Yeah, couldn't even. We tried to make days, and they just kept falling through and whatnot. But we're still on track for our. What do we want to do? 30
episodes. I reckon it's pretty doable. Providing that we don't have 3 weeks off every week, will we, right?
Yeah, that'll still put us on 12 for the year, I guess. So, but no, it's been good. What exciting news have we got? We're going New South Wales today.
Yeah.
Going early. Got a wedding for our good friend Owen and Zalia. That'll be mint. People are going to call him Jaden. I have to be like, who's that guy?
That is going to be weird. I don't think I've ever called him Jaden in real life. But anyway, yeah. We're both driving to New South Wales today, which is why we're doing this in the AM, and I have a Starbucks.
Oh, you're out next week as well.
Am I out next week?
Aren't you in New Zealand?
No, that's the following week.
Copy.
Yeah, so we'll probably, to be honest with you, I'm probably going to be pushing it to get a pod in next week. And then the following week, I'll be in New Zealand for Crankworks, which has only become a thing as of like yesterday. So I was like booking flights and accommodation and just being an absolute maniac last night, pulling my hair out, trying to be in all the right places at the right time.
It was like 9 o'clock last night. You sent me the message. You're like, going to New Zealand. I mean, if anyone wants to fucking hotspot Jack's seat for a week, let me know. You got to do actual stuff, but so
I reckon we'll have plenty of people hit us up that will be no good. They will.
Jack's talking shit on you immediately.
Oh yeah, 100%. I reckon there'd be plenty of people. I'm not going to name anyone. I reckon there's plenty of people that we know that'll be like, "I'll come and sit in," and then it'd just be terrible.
Right. So hit me up. May or may not get posted. May just be an example of how not to run a podcast. That'd mean I'd have to take your seat and like do cues and stuff like that. Oh.
Yeah, I guess so. Also, you had a little go by yourself this week, didn't you?
Shut up.
How did that go?
That was in confidence. Yeah, so I tried to run one by myself just as hey guys, we've been busy. And turns out talking by yourself, so I had it changed, so I was in Jack's seat. I was faced at Jack's camera. Disgusting.
Funny that sitting in a room by yourself talking into a microphone is weirder than sitting in a room with someone talking into a microphone.
Very much so. Yeah, it was, and like no one was home too, so I had the creative freedom to do as I pleased, and I hated it. I've got maybe, what was there, like 15 clips there of me just like, no, and just going again and again and again. Queuing myself in is also awkward. You blowing me kisses?
No, there's I have the world's fluffiest cat for anyone that doesn't actually know me in real life. And I just saw one of his little hairs floating about. I tried to blow it away. This is a train wreck of an episode already. I love it. You leading into what we're actually talking about? Since you did all of the preparation and I did all of the winging it.
I was gonna have a drink, then I realized I'm actually meant to be talking. I want to talk about the thing that we said we were going to talk about 3 times now. You have a different name for it as well. I call it the lonely stage. And it's that transition of leveling up with air quotations for those non-visual listeners. But good coffee.
Yeah, just visual listeners threw me off.
Oh, okay. Right. 'Cause I wish the camera was on Jack for that. He made such an interesting face. But yeah, so that like lonely stage of when you're transitioning between goals, careers. I feel like it's very career orientated. The more that I've looked into it and tried to understand it, the more I've realized that career for me is a big driver. Um, because you're changing these steps of when you no longer fit in the circle that you were in when you got to your first place, and now you're trying to move to the next one and you don't quite fit into the next circle as well. And so you can, like, it's that balance between, well, no, it's more so of a fight between, do I lower myself to keep hanging out with these season one people, or do I bite the bullet and be the silliest in the room, the least knowledgeable? Do I take that massive discomfort and move on to this next stage? And I guarantee you everyone has been in this, especially I would say everyone that listens to us, because we have a very we have a directive of what we like to talk about, and I guess those that resonates and engages with are on a similar path of they want to do better for themselves, and they would have had that like flow through. You call it, what do you have a different name for
I
it?
call it no man's land. It took me pretty much the entire time that you were talking then. I was like, what do I call it? It took me, and I remembered it's no man's land, which I've stolen from somebody. I think I've stolen that from Andy Frisella. And yeah, I guess it's just essentially the gap between tiers of friends, tiers of colleagues, tiers of like, yeah, just the people that you're around. They don't necessarily have to be friends, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely it's not a linear progression at all, where you're like, I'm just going to progress in life and there's going to be people like on the same trajectory the whole way. There's not. Some people are going down, some people are going up faster than you, some people are not doing anything. So you get these like breaks in between where like everyone's trajectory is different and you're going to overlap with people in certain spots, but then like you inevitably, like if you're not on the same trajectory, you'll inevitably just like that distance will grow again.
Yeah, very much so. They're on the trajectory for it. I found one thing for me when I was like first moving through, because I used to be a dairy smoker, I used to be a big drinker, used to be all sorts of shit, right? As I was like moving out of that, my trajectory was to get to like this cleaner, healthier life. And you would meet people that you're like, oh, we're on the same path, but actually that's their level. Like they were never going past that point. And I was like, yeah, we're gonna be moving this shit together. This is gonna be sweet. And then I continued to try and grow and push to what my goal was. And they were like, oh, this is the top for me. This is my shelf. And that was hard. Like some of those were like, and because you in loneliness, you find like close bonds with people, I guess, as well, be it work wise, personal wise. It could even just be like skill wise as well. I have an example of like a skill wise of how I move through something. But it's real hard to let go of that, especially when you're hanging out every day, you're doing this shit every day, and then you're like, right, well, time to move on to the next point, or they decide to dip down, because it's easy to dip back down as well. It's because it's comfortable, it's safe, and we like to be comfortable, very much so. Pardon me. I even when like learning a skill, I feel like you do it to yourself, and it's not so much that you lose people, but you hit this like this shelf essentially of, I can't get past this. This is like a hard point, blah blah. And then as soon as you learn past that, what was now your entry is now like an easy thing to move on with, and like you no longer like potentially. I'm saying like a lot. Jesus, you may not find the difficulty, and it might not have the same power for you at the start of what it was. because you no longer find that challenging or something like that. So you could lose hobbies as such, or lose interest in hobbies uh, because you've passed that fun learning curve, and now you're into that shitty actually got to learn something part.
Which I think is something that we've kind of touched on before with the uninformed optimism curve. I can't remember exactly. I always forget what this graph is called, but it's essentially like a S shape where on your first little bit of trajectory upwards is uninformed optimism, and then as you kind of peak that and start to come back down is informed pessimism, and then either you'll just crash and burn from there, or you have a second pickup where you have informed optimism, and then you go, because typically you go, oh, I'm going to do this new fun thing, it's really exciting, and then you go, oh, this is actually hard. And if you don't get past oh, this is actually hard, and go, oh, I've actually figured out how to do it, I can now progress forward, that's just when things will crash and burn. So I think it's something that you can experience not only with like friendships and stuff, or professional relationships, all those kind of things. You can experience it in like skill-based things as well. Or I find for me, I don't learn anything until it gets hard. Whether it's with video editing, filming, my like my actual job, or like writing, just anything that I'm trying to progress in. I don't learn anything until it gets hard, because if it's not hard, I already knew how to do it. And I think it is the same thing where you don't necessarily have this linear progression. You kind of, I find anyway, I'll kind of stay at the same level. And this is something that I've really experienced in video editing, because to me, going and shooting video is kind of just like fun. You're in the moment, you're at the event, you're interacting with people. Comes relatively easy to me. But when I'm in my office by myself in the edit, that's kind of where I hit these walls where I'll kind of progress along at like the same level for a little bit until I hit a wall where I'm kind of like frustrated that I'm not making progress. And it's when I hit that wall that the effort comes in to like level up. But it comes in these steps, and it doesn't happen until I get frustrated with the level that I'm at, that I put in the effort to get to the next step. I move up and then kind of continue at that level for a little while.
I have 2 points on that. Hell yeah. That's not one of the points, but hell yeah. What's interesting is I remember when what now is the easy part wasn't the easy part for you as well, which is part of this, is you see those like your entry points to what is easy now is so much larger than what it used to be for stuff. But it's very much on that this like S curve. You ever go through those parts where you're like, damn, I'm picking this up so easy. This is actually chilling. Yeah, that's the up, bud. Get ready for the dip. And that dip, you have to embrace that solitude. You have to like that is needed, because if it's not there, you're not going to move past it. But it's scary and it's shit and it's disheartening. You're like, I want to throw this out. I'm not doing it. It's too hard. Like, can't find answers for stuff. And but you're right. But that's where you dig in. That's where you learn stuff. It's a self-recover, really. But from what I've seen, it is that like embracing the sitting by yourself is the part that most people dip out on, because it's pretty shit, to be fair, and it's lonely. It's not very inviting. It's a lot of things that aren't enjoyable to deal with. And I've definitely had times where that's been the part where I've wanted to like dip out of stuff and have a tanny, and I have before. I've been like, well, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, it's easy to go back into ways. But I think as you practice to self-recover, like one of my self-recover things is going through the good old Jocko Willink good of like, sweet, this is where you need to be then. This is and reminding myself continuously that this is the point where you level up. This is where you get your XP, right? Like that's needed on it. But I think a lot of people dip out at that point of silence and solitude, because it's shit, man. Like, to be fair, but you're right. Like, it's not something that you can benefit from until it gets to a point of discomfort, really.
Yeah, I guess you kind of mentioned for you, it was kind of like when you kind of wanted to level up from like that friend group of like just being like a smoker, a drinker, just doing silly stuff. Is that like I guess, your biggest example of kind of like going through this?
That's my most abrasive one, yeah, because I was like a mad dairy smoker. Everyone I knew, my partner at the time, was also a dairy smoker, and arguably bordering on the line of alcoholics. I'm not sure what the technical, how many drinks you need to have is, but it would have been too many. And so it was the biggest changing point in me, because everyone that I had known for the last 7 to 10 years, pretty much, was all in that, because that's what everyone, like that's just what we all clicked and did, really. And I wanted none of it and hit it cold turkey for the lot of it. And so was forced into this, not even without, like, because I probably still would have hung out with them for a bit if they were allowing of the change as well, because they also, I just seen the Caddo hair. They also weren't very kind to the change as well. They were attacking me because I didn't want to do that. You hit that, oh, you're too good for us. Think you're better than us. And yeah, kind of. I am now. Like,
Because typically people that are not doing well in their own life don't want the people to do well around them. That was a weird way to say that sentence. They don't want the people around them to do well, because that it like threatens not their existence. It threatens their like their choices that they've made a little bit, I guess. That like it shows them that it is actually possible to move forward. You just have to do the work. Where if no one around you does it, it's impossible. No one's ever done it.
yeah, crabs in a bucket. It's a good reference.
So I think probably the biggest example that I have of this in my life was kind of when I moved here. I felt like I had quite a lengthy, lonely chapter before I left my hometown. And I think, so for a little bit of context, I guess, I grew up just in like a country town. It's a mining town. There's a lot of wineries and stuff. Like, it's probably a pretty nice place to go and visit for a weekend and go and do wineries and whatever. But not a super fun place to live, because you don't go to, I mean, maybe some people do, but you don't typically go and do wine tours when you live at the place where the wine tour is. But so I guess like the normal formula that people had for life there was that, you either left school early or got an apprenticeship straight out of school, and just became a tradie. Most people, like, probably more than anything, people were just becoming like builders, sparkies, whatever. But kind of the gold standard was you would go and work in the mines. I'm not doing that. Like, and so from quite a young age, I was like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not following the normal trajectory. And I started my business that I was running before I moved up here. I started that when I was 17. And so I was just like so against the grain, I think, just compared to what everyone's expectations were, is that like no one kind of wanted to be around it. I didn't, even from like grown adults at that point, I was getting pressure of like, yeah, but what are you doing for a real job? Like, are you going to go and work at the mines, or like, what are you doing? Like, you're just going to play on your computer. That's not a job. Like, so like I copped that for probably like 4 or 5 years before I moved here, and just had like essentially no friends, because there was just no one that lived in my town that was like on the same path that I was on. Like they're all just kind of doing the same steps that everyone before them had done, and they just end up in a mine job, buying a car that they can't afford if they don't have a job at the mines. So then they just stay at the mines forever. And yeah, I guess it was just my decision that like I didn't want to do that. That inevitably landed me here, which is perfect. This is where I was always meant to be, I think. But there was quite a big chapter before that where I just had no interaction with anyone from my hometown, because I had more friends here or people that I just knew from like Instagram than I did like in my hometown, because like there was just no one doing anything in my hometown. And I feel like, especially like on the Gold Coast, like it's very entrepreneurial. Like people are just like, there's just an energy about the Gold Coast. Like people are just doing stuff. Like, you see people like ripping around in Lambos and stuff flat out. Like you're not going to do that if you just like went and got some random job and stayed there forever.
Very much so. I very much agree with the vibe up here is much more like
People embrace you doing things. If you're like, oh, I'm going out and I'm doing this thing and I'm starting something and I'm going to try and grow it, people embrace it here. It's like very, very much part of the culture here that like, even if you work full time, like we both work full time, a lot of people that we know work, but then they're like, but I'm also doing this thing. Like this is the thing I'm trying to grow.
Yeah, a lot of the people that we deal with on a day to day all have like a side hustle slash hobby that requires a lot of time. Everyone's working on something, which again, very much in the circle. But I guarantee if we spoke to all of them, there was a point where they had to fight through that surface tension to get away from of what it was like their hometown, their friends. Sometimes it's career wise as well. Career wise is an interesting one. So I have an example of when I first went into management, and then I was on the floor with everyone of this place, that place, this has got to do this. Then once I moved into management and then started to see the process of how things move and why we have to not be up the back talking shit the whole time and actually do our jobs, and then having to enforce that to the workers. One of them was my brother as well, which was a beautiful time. But that was also a change of then work become super lonely for me as well. Of people that I thought were my friends now are against me and talk shit behind my back and stuff like that. Don't want to sit with me at lunch. Then you have you're forced into this like quietness. But you're always like you're one decision away from a different life every time that one of these things come up. And just you might fumble the first one and if you fumble a decision and you feel uncomfortable still in that group, that situation, that location, that mindset, then it's time to like keep pushing for it. Really, like it's not. That's a lie. I was gonna say it's not hard. It's hard. It sucks. It's difficult. It's sad. It's lonely. It's all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I feel like that's such a sticky one when you are kind of like in a workplace, you kind of like on a kind of like a peer level with everyone. Everyone you're kind of like working around is, I guess, like friends or at least like work colleagues. You know what I mean? Like you kind of all like, I guess, like yeah, in it together. Just like have a peer relationship with everyone, and then you progress into a management role. I feel like that it can be quite sticky because like there's this weird transition between like still peers, but like now I'm responsible for you. So if you're doing some silly shit, this is my problem now. Where I think if you started at a workplace in a management role, I've never done that, so I don't know. Maybe people have just as much resentment because you come in at a higher level than them.
Yeah, I get that. They don't know what we do here. They don't know. On that work one, I think you quickly find out who is not on your team, which is arguably for the most part almost everyone, when they are still willing to do silly stuff, even though it negatively reflects you 100%. You're like, mate, I thought we were mates, but you're still willing to put me on the chopping block and make me have to do the big boy stuff because you are still an idiot.
I think that's a pretty harsh reality that most people have to realize. A lot of people, I think, maybe don't realize for a long time is that almost no one's on your team. They're on their team.
Yeah.
They're worried about them.
Yeah, very much. And fully understand everyone has to worry about their own plate, their own table, so on from that. But I would say I have few people around that will check my bowl, not to make sure that they have the same that I'm getting, but to make sure that I have enough to eat, which is something that someone once told me. And it was criticism against me. And they were like, stop looking in people's bowls to see if you're getting enough. Make sure that you're looking to see that they are getting enough. I was like, oh, dang, that was an interesting one for me, and definitely changed how I look at things now. And like, as someone who's got like a real weird soft spot for food and like people eating, damn, they hit me in the feels of that. I would have been probably still a teenager when that got said to me, and it's still something that sits to me today. But I feel like it's something that, it's a weird analogy, I guess, but a lot of people like do. They don't. They want to make sure that no one's getting more than them, not that everyone's got enough to eat. But you can't do that for everyone. But you can't be making sure everyone's got food in their side and everyone's coming up at the same level, because it doesn't work like that. You will kill yourself mentally, trying to bring people up that are not willing or just don't have the ability.
I think that's for sure something that like I've experienced. I feel like
I know an example of you. I'm not going to tell your story, but of someone that you were like, yeah, I'll come up, we'll do this. Yeah, I got this. You can use this. Blah blah. Shit on.
Because not everyone. Yeah, I guess it's the same thing as that. Like when I was saying, when you're trying to escape from that friend group of like just like smoking and drinking and being a goose, they saw your progression as a threat because it kind of exposes to them that they're not doing enough. And in that situation, you can try and bring them with you, but like if they want to progress, they'll do it on their own. Like you trying to drag them along, and I've done this to myself many times, probably too many times, because I try and give people the benefit of the doubt, but I try and like either bring people along with me or try and like reach out and help people like bring themselves up. And more often than not, I've done more harm to myself than I have done good to them. And I'm not saying this because you shouldn't try and help people, but you do need to be cautious about like, you can try and help someone, but if they're not willing to help themselves, you also need to be able to like be okay within yourself and be like, well, I can't actually help them because they don't want to help themselves. So like
you need a cutoff point. You need to like actively practice cutoff points. Because I feel like you'll have to do it with a few things that are less abrasive than someone that you want to come up with you. That mate that you're like, yeah, let's go for it. Real quick, when planning this episode, I jumped on the socials and had a look at that friends group. They are still doing, like my friends group, they are still doing the exact same stuff. They are in their 30s. They're still doing zero with their time, with their lives, with their families, their kids, and just constantly still partying, doing that. Like, okay, and that's sweet. Someone has to. Fuck, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I swore I don't. Yeah. But someone has to be the example of what not to do. You can either be it yourself, or you can be the one that people want to strive to be. It is super black and white with it. You're either at the bottom or you're at the top. There might be people above you, but still your starting point. You can either be below your starting point or above your starting point. It's your choice to do what you want from there.
Yeah, and it's tricky to navigate because for me, it's like I always want to see the people around me do well. And when I've figured things out for myself, I kind of have this thing that like, I guess to some degree, I feel like I'm like, well, I have the answer. Like I figured this out for me. And if I can see someone kind of wrestling with the same thing, I'm kind of like, look, I have the information that you need to be able to like work through the thing that you're going through. or like dealing with, whether that be health related, whether it be like mindset related, like whatever it is, because like I am not just naturally in the spot that I'm in now. I've put so much work into my health and my mindset, and just to be able to function at the level that I function at, I just want to give that information to people. And like, it can hurt when they kind of like slap it out and be like, oh, no, I can't because of this, or people just don't. I feel like sometimes they don't want the answer.
Yeah, they want to complain. They don't want solutions. They just want a problem. Yeah, very much so. I feel like I know one of the ones that you're talking about. On this, but on a slightly side note, do you have some remedies or some action plans that you go through yourself when you start noticing that you're in this dip, when you're struggling with the solitude? Do you have?
I feel like as of recently, have been in a pretty good place with it. And I think almost purely for the fact of like our friendship is that like we are kind of like on this path together now. In the sense that like we're doing the podcast together, we're running Sleeper together. We're kind of like, we both kind of have the same ideas of kind of how we want to progress forward. Like we've talked about like plans of, like future goals that like we can kind of see doing together. Like I feel like we kind of have this kind of like almost business relationship of a friendship, which is mad because we're still good friends and we still are dickheads and we still do fun stuff. But like we both kind of have the same mentality and we both have the same mindset of like how we want to progress forward. So I feel like I've been lucky in the sense that like I haven't really experienced this much as of recently, but we still like I haven't seen you in fucking weeks because we got a swear jar. Also, side note on the swear jar, this is a big derail. Where's the camera over there? Bring it over here. The swear jar is currently chock-a-block of IOUs. Because we don't use cash because we're not criminals.
I had someone hit me up to be like, can I potentially come on and do a talk for some stuff? And I was like, yeah. They've been listening to some episodes. They're like, ooh, what's the swear jar? And I told them, and they were like, I'm going to have to bring a lot of money with me. Sorry, because I was about to write down a talking point then. What I think really helps with mine and your friendship is we can switch between business talk, friend talk, and like that whole thing. As this starts, every episode, Jackie's late, but we in here, we
I showed up at 7:00 today, almost exactly. It was maybe 5 minutes past. You told me to be here at 7:15. I assumed you told me 7:15 because you wanted me here at 7.
That is 100% correct. That is 100% correct. I even have messages to be like, is he late? But so we'll get in and like we do this very often is we'll have our like, we talk smack, go through this is sick, blah, blah, blah. And the second that it's like action time, boom, drops down into it. But then the second that button's pushed again, the mics are thrown, it's back out.
Profanities as soon as it's turned off.
Absolutely. But yeah, sorry, keep going, because I feel like it's all good and well for us to talk about this stage, but without trying to shed some light on tools that we use to navigate through it, it's sort of useless. It's been like, guess what, guys? There's a shitty time coming. Good luck. Hope you can sail a boat.
I don't know if I have necessarily a good answer, which is super helpful. But other than the fact that like you just need to, I guess, weather the storm and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel is kind of the main thing. Like I was in the tunnel 4 years and it was lonely, and I didn't necessarily fall into like a friend group that I stayed with immediately as soon as I moved up here. I just think knowing that the storm will pass is kind of that like all you need to do is like you just continue working on yourself, continue pursuing what you want to pursue, try and reach out to people that you can kind of see doing a similar thing. For me, most of the time, that is just via Instagram, because like a lot of the people that are doing the same things that I'm doing, and especially the things that I'm pursuing outside of my 9 to 5 job, like I don't have really anyone in like the Gold Coast, Brisbane area that like I go and film Crankworks with. They're all like Canberra, Melbourne, US, like, but even if it's virtually, try and reach out to those people and try and make connections with people that you can see are doing either the same thing that you're trying to do or on a similar trajectory. And just like, man, it can be as simple as like a lot of these relationships that I've kind of built with people have started with just like, you know, it might be another filmer that I met at Crankworks and I'd follow them on Instagram and they'd post something on their story. I'd just reply to their story and be like, hell yeah, dude, love to see it. Like, that's it. Because like if you cheer for other people, they're much more likely to cheer for you in return. And if they're kind of on the same wavelength, if they, you know, for me, it's like creative people that are like, particularly in photo and video. But they're the kind of people that I'm trying to like reach out and connect with. And I definitely there's definitely some people like kind of locally to us that, you know, I've made friends with, and we go and shoot events and we always run into each other and that kind of stuff. But like a lot of those people are outside of my immediate circle and I only have access to them via Instagram typically. But like, it's cool to just have those connections with people that are, you know, kind of doing similar things that you're doing. And yeah, you just have to trust that like there is light at the end of the tunnel. One more point. I can see you're ready to talk. I have one more thing. Don't be the whiny bitch on Instagram posting things on your story about you have no friends and no one likes you. If you're posting shit like that, no one is gonna want to be your friend and no one is gonna like you if you're just gonna be a sook and complain about being in this phase. You need to like be a positive like force, I guess, and just reach out to people and just be like, hell yeah, dude, like I love to see what you're doing, like that's sick. Be a positive, like no one wants to be around the sook.
Yeah. Yep. Holy shit. Is that so true? I'm gonna step your stuff backwards here. Yeah. Don't be the bitch in it. Yeah. Oh no.
It can be easy to, like, I understand, like, you have a natural, like, urge, I guess, to, like, want to, I just, like, guess publicly complain because.
You want comfort. I feel like that's, you're like, oh, this is shit. I would love some comfort for people to be like, you're good, mate. Like, you're doing well. You're doing that. Like, you want that positive affirmation.
I think so. I think that's the word. But I think, I guess, to like summarize that a little bit is that if you need that comfort, if you need people to reach out to you, and I'm just going to continue to roll with the example of like, if you're, you know, in a creative space, like filming stuff, doing photo or video or whatever, just because that's the world that I'm in, it's kind of, I guess, the easiest to kind of use it as an example. If you want other people to reach out to you when you post stuff and be like, hell yeah, dude, that's sick. Like, I love to see what you're doing. You know, you want to get that support in return. You're not going to get that support, pardon me, by complaining and like just putting negativity out. I feel like whatever you put out is what comes back to you. So if you're just putting out negativity, you're posting on your story about being sad because like no one's your friend and you know it's all too hard and blah blah blah. No one is going to return positivity to you. But if you are like commenting on other people's posts, like if you don't have people directly around you, like in your physical location, and you need to like reach out to people virtually to kind of interact with people that are doing the same thing, you have to spread positivity out to those people so that, and it's not a guarantee that they're going to return that, but if you want any chance of them returning that love, you need to give love out to them. Like what you put out is what you'll get in return. You spread positivity will come back to you.
100%. I have like a few people on the gram that are like every time you put something up, they are up there clapping. Actually, a mate Toga, big fan of the podcast as well, always on it. And like it's the same, but love to see Toga doing good, 100% crushing it. And it puts like her in the limelight of both of our eyes too. Of you like, yeah, this person's also like someone I can cheer for as well. A dude named Law, who would love to get on here. He's a gym owner. But again, reached out yesterday just for clapping, man, for no reason at all. Just reached out to have a clap. Well done, get after it, love your shit. Hell yeah. And like that's sometimes all you need to be like, right, so we're on the right path and we're pushing forward. On your light at the end of the tunnel, like the maze theory, if you just put your hand on the right wall and just keep walking, you'll eventually make your way out. Sometimes that's all you gotta do. It's dark, scary, and sometimes super unfriendly. Just keep moving forward. Because if you stop, everything that you have sacrificed to get to that point is void, is waste. Just keep moving forward. Keep having a step. You have such a look on your face right now.
I was just trying to figure out in my head, if you're in a maze, if you put your hand on any wall, you'll make it out, right? Eventually?
Most likely. But I think the right wall sounds better. Because it is the correct one. It's the right one.
But I guess you don't know if you're correct, but...
Yeah, but also, which way are you facing? If you would just be dumped in a maze, this is so derailed. If you were just to be dumped in a maze and just put your hand on a right wall, that's subjective to which direction you're facing. Because if I'm right now, both of our rights are different walls.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the thing. I feel like you could put your hand on any wall and follow it, and you'll make your way out.
Imagine if we had some sort of device that we could Google this with, look it up right now.
I guess unless it was a fully internal wall that didn't touch the edges. Providing that the wall that you're touching touches the edge of the maze, I feel like you make it out.
You would hope so.
Anyway.
Eventually you'd probably get back to where you started and be like, I need to touch a different wall, hero. But yeah, very much just keep moving forward. Interesting enough, I have like my journaling. I have a whiteboard that's just filled with my like little words of keep going, keep going, keep going. It's when I pack them up and I'm like, I've got this. Oh, here comes a dip. Yeah. It's when I let go of my foundations that I notice that sort of hit in it. But I agree. I like talking to people that are like progressively doing better or on that same thing. You and I do it a lot. We'll send messages, and it's good that we'll happily give tough love to each other too and be like, that's stupid and shit. Yeah. And very much, and happy for that criticism. Sometimes it takes a minute to let it sink in and then reply to the message without calling someone a naughty word. But yeah, very much so. At the start, but you don't have that. It's hard to get that, and it's scary to reach out for it. So just keep moving.
I think it can be really difficult as well, particularly when you're new to something and you kind of want to see your own progression. It can be very difficult to see other people either progress past you or see people that like have started, potentially before you and are just further ahead in general. Kind of want to like, I guess the natural mentality is to want to like pull people down, but you don't climb the ladder by pulling other people off it.
Yeah, very, very much so. I feel like that's why it's important to be quiet about your movements too. Because if you start, you're like, I'm doing this, I'm going to be this, sweet. You've now set an example that you want to display to people. So then you get that pressure of, I have to show people I've got my Lamborghini. Mate, real G's move in silence like lasagna. Let's wrap this up.
On that note, yeah. Sweet. I am absolutely boiling.
Oh, it's warm in here.
It is hot.
It's horrible.
It is hot. I'm probably sweating through my shirt. But anyway.
That's why I wore black today.
All right, cool. Sweet.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
never. Jack and I hate every episode. At the end of it, we're like,
There's usually at least one of us that hate it.
Yeah. How do you feel about it today?
I feel all right about this one.
Oh, it's mine then. I hate it. If you hit me up if you want to be a guest spot also, there's going to be times I'm not here and you're going to need to run this yourself, Jack.
Hell yeah, the camera's on me still. That's okay. Yeah, give us a share if you got any value from this. It helps out a whole bunch. Yeah. Otherwise, check out sleeper stuff, I guess. Website's in the description.
Yeah, we're going to do some more sleeper stuff soon. Again, just so busy. But yeah, hit me up if you want a guest spot. No guarantees. I'll probably hate it. Love yous. Bye.